Hi.
Yeah.
Do you need to do audio checks for anybody else?
Check 1, 2, 3.
Just count from 1 to 5.
From
Go ahead,
just
just count from 1 to 5.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 500,000.
100.
Okay, can we start?
This one is not on.
Yeah, it is. You're always on, huh?
No, it's not on. I'm telling you.
We had to mute it in your case a little bit.
See.
Could you just stop clicking the pictures because it's coming on this thing. We can't start. Because we are recording this, so the flash is coming in the way. If you can just switch off your flash, I'd appreciate that. Yeah? Can we start? Hello and welcome to a very special program, a very special campaign, something that United Spirits and NDTV have been working at very, very closely for the last several years. It's a Road to Safety campaign, and the goal is very simple. It is to protect lives, it is to save lives, it is to ensure that we are responsible as citizens. Drink responsibly is part of our pledge, but be responsible in how you conduct yourselves. Think about people who are in road accidents, protect those lives, and think about what you are doing to your friends and to your family if you are irresponsible in moments when really you should be thinking about those all around you. That's really what this campaign is all about. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this campaign in a while from now, but we've got a lot of people across the country who've been actively involved with this, and I want to introduce some of our panelists in this discussion today. Karisma needs absolutely no introduction, and she's been associated with this in the past as well. Thank you once again very much for joining us. Abanti Shankaranarayanan is with United Spirits, someone who has, I would say, been a driving force in this campaign. It's very much her idea in working with us to get this going, and we've thought very carefully about how we are going to take this entire project forward, and Abanti will be talking about that among other things. Sohail Seth, the CEO of Consolage. Thanks very much, Sohail, for being with us. Saji Cherian with Save Life Foundation, an organization that has done incredible amounts of work when it comes to spreading awareness about road accidents in this country. And just to put this in perspective, in 2015, 1,41,633 people lost their lives in road accidents in India. These are government numbers. The number of people who die every year in road accidents is many times the number of people who have died in all of our wars put together since independence. Now, this is a reality check, and the programming that we are doing today, the discussion we are having today, is on the basis of these outrageous and very, very frightening numbers. We've also got very distinguished panelists elsewhere in this country who will be joining us, but today we've got Dr. Sanjay Oak. Thank you, sir, very much for being with us, the ex-dean of KEM College and the CEO of the Prince Ali Khan Hospital. Good to have you, sir. And Dr. Shankar Vishwanath, Honorary Advisor of Mumbai Traffic Police, who joins us in this capacity to talk really about some of the challenges facing the police, what are some of the issues as far as road construction is concerned, the layout of roads is concerned, because when it comes to road safety, we need to have a holistic look at this entire issue. But before we get started on this program, we wanted to roll out this small feature.
The year was 2014 and India was facing one of its biggest challenges.
To you first, why do you feel it's important for you to be associated with this campaign? What is the essential reason why you chose to be on board?
Well, I think this has been a growing concern, as we say, and being a young mother, you know, our children walk on the roads, they go to bus stops, you know, to catch the school bus. And I think even as a mom, you always have that fear, you know, that, you know, your child and maybe a mother or a father or a caretaker might be dropping them. But what if somebody is, you know, driving or they're coming back from school and being irresponsible? So I think it's very important that Of course, that don't drink and drive, but also, like you say, you have to drive safely and responsibly even during the day.
Yeah. Abanti, you've got teenage sons. They're what, 18 years old. In driving this entire campaign in association with NDTV, your thoughts would at one level have been also on your young sons. As a mother, what does this campaign mean to you?
I think as a mother, this campaign means I can go home a little bit more reassured that there is a message out there very frequently during the season when my kids are listening to it, and hopefully, there is an awareness that's being created about them of what not to do. I mean, they are below legal drinking age today, but still there is temptation always when they are together with friends, etc. So it just helps me really go and feel like there is somebody out there watching out for them through this program.
Yeah. Karisma, I must ask you, all of us like to go out, meet friends, party. And then, to say party responsibly or drink responsibly at one level is cliched, but it is at another level a fundamental truth. Where do you draw the line?
Well, I must say that, frankly, I always have a designated driver. I don't drive myself because I think I have too many things on my mind. So it's better that I sit behind in the back seat. But I'd like to tell you that there are a lot of young people out there today who have realized this. And I think this campaign has made them realize today when young couples go out to party or to a club to have a few drinks. Like a lot of my friends tell me, we are the driver tonight. Yeah. My friends like, I'm not drinking tonight. Let the husbands and the other friends, because I have so many people to drop home. So people have become really, really aware about this. And also I'd like to really say that especially in Mumbai, I think the traffic police is doing a great job, because over the weekends, a lot of people are genuinely aware and a bit scared that, they cannot afford to drink and drive because they are going to be pulled up. And there are a lot of check nakas nowadays. Yeah. And I think the growing concern is out there and people have become really aware.
Dr. Vishwanath, you want to add to that the role of the police in being proactive with new technologies available to them, also just spreading awareness and how something like this does make a difference on the ground?
Yes, that is very much true. More than 18,000 people have been caught drunk and drive this year, and more people are very much aware, because we are also putting those 40 extra cameras on Marine Drive, Western Express Highway, Eastern Express Highway and all, especially for the purpose of stopping these racing motorbikes and all those things at night. And they pose a danger for the common driver, who is not even aware that they are racing. And very difficult to catch hold of them because the policeman cannot race behind them at that speed. And hence, these cameras are going to be very useful. And we have also got the e-challan systems, which are being, more than 6,000 cameras are being installed in Mumbai, out of which 4,000 are already installed. Yeah. And we are getting those data straight away from that, and we are sending those challans to their mobile numbers. And we are getting many mobile numbers from the petrol stations and all these things. One incident where a poor constable was just taking a mobile number from a teenage driver, motorbiker, and his brother came and hit him and he died because of that. But so at least 50 constables die every year because of these road accidents all over Maharashtra. So therefore, this kind of awareness and lot of publicity is being done with that e-challan, BMS and all those things. And people in Mumbai are very much aware that they just can't take a chance with the police.
Suhail, the number I gave you, 141,633 people died in road accidents in 2015. I've got a number for the number of accident deaths and injuries because of drunk driving. 2015, 16,298 people had died in accidents of drunk driving. The total number of accidents. The total number of deaths of that 16,000, 6,755. Injuries, 18,813. These are underreported numbers, as you know, in a country as large as ours. But these numbers are absolutely horrific by any standard anywhere in the world. We have some of the most unsafe roads for various reasons. Where do you draw the line? What is your message when you confront numbers like this?
See, while the campaign is genuinely laudable and there is no escaping this reality, there are three things that need to be done. Number one, we need education which is finite and with a purpose. we need demonstrable punishment for people who violate the laws. See, in this country, you can get away with blue murder. You know, you'll hit someone, the laws are so weak, person will get bail. I mean, there was this lady who ran over someone and, you know, driving the other side. We don't have demonstrable punishment. The third, which is very important, which I hope the doctor here will touch upon, is we have zero trauma apparatus around our centers, around our roads, around our cities. You know, we are talking about Bombay and Delhi. What happens when you're on national highways? When you're between villages, when you're between towns, small towns? The maximum number of deaths happen because there is no immediate trauma management. I sit on the board of the Indian Head Injury Foundation, and we're seeing in the IHIF, the figures that are reported is in the first 5 minutes, if you don't have that care, you lose the person. So I think it's very, very critical for us to look at it from a holistic point of view. It's not about just consumer education, it's not just about punishment, and certainly not just about cameras, but it's about the whole apparatus that you need to create. An ecosystem which prevents people from being irresponsible. You know, I've got 169 stitches on my head. I mean, that's partially the reason for my slight insanity. But I was knocked in by a drunk driver in Calcutta, and that was even before Mamata Banerjee was in power. So I can tell you, it's pretty dangerous
You've
when
not
it happens.
spoken about this. Would you like to talk a little bit more?
No,
about
it was just an accident. There was no.
When did this happen, sir?
In 1996.
And this was a drunk driver who.
Yeah, a drunk driver in an ambassador. In those days, you still had an ambassador. For some of these people who've grown up, they've only seen Marutis, and it came and hit my car head on, and there was nothing you could do. I don't even think the guy went to jail, or may have gone, you know, for a token reason. But the irresponsibility of the ecosystem needs to be highlighted. So I think this is a brilliant first step. You need to marry the political apparatus with the medical apparatus with the media machinery in order for all three things to work in harmony. Ultimately, as you rightly said, we can't afford to have people die because someone's behaved irresponsibly.
Yeah. Shaji, you know, it was the Save Life Foundation that really pushed to have the Good Samaritan law. And it's a law now, it exists in India, which basically means that if you see somebody in distress, you can actually take that person to a hospital and not be bothered by the police. You don't even have to give your name to the hospital people over there. You can walk out. There is no harassment. How do you believe this can save hundreds of lives every year? And that's just a number off the top of my head. It could be many more.
Yeah, first of all, I think we have been as an organization at it for the past decade now. And in just the last 2-3 years, just to see the amount of dialogue and conversation around road safety is really heartening for us as an organization. I want to congratulate NDTV and Diageo for taking this initiative, not just for a year now. I'm seeing this every year, so it's great. I think people who die in road accident victims, 50% of them actually die of treatable injuries. So they can be saved. Typically they die because of excessive bleeding. The Good Samaritan law concept basically looks at bystander care. The person who is next to the accident victim or somebody who is passing by should be empowered not to be scared to call for emergency services. People typically die bleeding on the road. And so right now we have, as a country, we have a Good Samaritan law. Unfortunately, not much has been talked about it. Propagation has not happened, so people on the road don't know about it. So as of now, if you see an accident victim, go ahead and call the police, go ahead and call emergency services. You can remain anonymous. You have the right in India right now to not reveal your name. And that was the biggest fear for any individual.
And are police forces accepting this? Has it dawned on police forces that they need to be sensitive to this new law? They cannot be harassing a person who's actually trying to help a fellow citizen?
Not completely. It's a process. Typically, it takes at least a few years for the beat constable to understand that I will not be asking somebody for his or her name. This sensitization has to happen continuously. It cannot happen overnight. So, but that effort has to come from the government side as well.
Dr. Oak, tell us a little bit about the golden hour in a hospital. Why is the golden hour?
Yeah, it's So two things are important, as Sohailji very rightly mentioned. It's the pre-hospital period and the pre-hospital transfer. So one is you have to stop if someone has met with an accident and go for its assistance. Yes, you may be questioned, you may be detained in the casualty for some time. That's a part of life. Eventually, you're going to save somebody's life, and that anonymous person could be your next kith and kin. It has happened at times. Second thing is, how do you transfer? Because sometimes unscientific modalities of transfer have rendered more harm than the actual accident has done. It particularly happens in cervical spine injuries, lumbar spine injuries. So that is second part where we are working together. The third thing is, once a patient is received in the hospital, the whole culture of the hospital also needs to change from casualty, which is a casual approach, to an accident and emergency service area, where what is called as triage. Triage means to sort out. That is done. And suppose if there are 5 or 6 victims, we decide which one needs to be attended most and first. You know, ironically, he may be the quietest of the lot, but he's the one who is bleeding internally and needs more attention, rather than the one who is making all loud noise about this. So these are the fundamental things. But in that golden hour, if you are able to stabilize airway, if you are able to stabilize breathing, if you are able to stop hemorrhage, we can save significant number of lives.
Yeah. Shaina, thanks very much for being with us. The road safety bill is something that this government has spoken about, the minister has spoken about extensively, but it's difficult to actually get all parties and all states to accept it, because where does the funding come from? And so despite the best intention to push this forward, it's not happened. Is this going to happen soon? Can we expect it by this government?
Absolutely, without a doubt, and I say it because I have the conviction that Nitin Gadkari is the correct minister at the right place and somebody who has championed road safety. You know, we've lost some of our leaders also, not as if it's a token to leadership, but you take Gopinath Munde's case. I mean, it was most tragic how he just lost his life. Yes. And I think that that has also been something that has been discussed internally in the party on multiple occasions. Not that I'm suggesting a life of a politician is more than the life of any other citizen. But you look at what Nitin Gadkari himself is doing. I mean, he has not just talked about this bill and championing the cause, but he has got all stakeholders. And correct me if I'm wrong, people like Dr. Oak have also been consulted. So there are stakeholders from various fields, and I think that what they have talked about and what Sohail said is so correct, that you have an accident, you have the immediate medical facility that is required, and then you have people like the Good Samaritans who are talking about the importance of bystanders. I'd like to question, even in a city like Mumbai, if we do see an accident, how many of us actually stop? All of us think, let's not get into this janjat. Yeah. Who wants to be a witness? Who wants to go to court?
So you wanted to say something?
Who wants to be a part of this whole problem and not realizing where you're going to go? So I think where it's important as a political class is also to give faith to the bystanders, that you have a moral responsibility, a legal responsibility. More importantly, you're a human being, and this could happen to any of us, so we must participate.
See, there is a very critical thing which governments of today are ignoring, and whether it's BJP, Congress, they're all the same in this regard, which is, when we were growing up, if you remember, we were part of the Boy Scouts movement. I mean, I'm sure girls were part of the Girl Scout movement, we hope. We were also part of NCC. One of the fundamental things that were taught were primary first aid care to people. All of that is missing from our curriculum. So even young children, who, by the way, have the greatest propensity to help, teenagers, you know, they're the ones who are more courageous than the middle-aged, as it were. That, you know, identified education, needs to be brought back into the system. We don't know how to administer first aid. We don't know how to prevent bleeding.
So true.
And these are critical things which need to come back into the curriculum.
Part of what you've been doing is CPR training, right?
Yeah.
And who typically wants to actually learn about CPR skills and be certified in it? I mean, should it really be part of our school education, our curriculum?
Absolutely. I think CPR is not just for road accidents cases. It can happen in our homes as well. If somebody is having a heart attack, you can use that training and help out your own kith and kin. But I think what's important is to understand who is the first responder, right? Even in a city like Bombay, typically it's always the beat cop or the police person who is actually around. But if you see, he will not be trained how to handle a victim. So I think, as what Suhail said, that we need to look at it holistically. Whether it's drink driving, what works in drink driving is enforcement is what works in drink driving. What works in roads and how we construct our roads is engineering. You were mentioning about the bill. Let me say that the government in the past 2 years has done incredible work to ensure that new legislation, a stronger legislation can be brought in. As you said, there were opposition from the states, but now they have an amendment bill which they have worked through. Yeah. And right now it's in the parliament. Now it's the parliament's responsibility, as you know what's happening in the parliament as of now.
Parliament is allowed.
So I think it has to be a collective responsibility. Sure. Everybody has to get in there and get this thing passed.
Sure. I also want to say something about people like Karisma who are supporting these things. Bollywood has a very, very pervasive influence over shaping minds. I'm glad that people from the film industry, people from sport, so Virat Kohli, are coming out and talking about these things. For far too long, we brushed this under the carpet because as long as it doesn't happen to me, it's not important. But what we don't realize is we are actually going down a spiral which we will never recover from. For instance, now the police. The police still in this country, despite Narendra Modi's Digital India and all that other stuff, we don't have a record of actually violations of drunk driving norms. The DIU norms in America, DUI, whatever, those norms need to be imposed here. Yeah. You need people for their licenses to be taken away. You need all of that. And finally, I would be delighted if a news channel would actually shame people and call it the road of rogues. So all the people who've been arrested that month for drunk driving, put their names on the ticker. It'll be a great idea. Let them be shamed.
That's the marketing guru talking.
Yeah. No, but
and I think
rather than just have ministers being put on the ticker.
Okay, Abanti, I want to speak to you actually about some of our goals this year. Celebrate responsibly, never drink and drive, and always have a designated driver. Before you answer that, I want to ask you about the reception this campaign has had, not just in the big cities, but we've taken it across elsewhere. So what's the reception been, which is why we really want to keep doing this?
So I think what comes across to us as a delight is the fact that this message has now become part of the discourse in all cities, not just in the metros, but even in the smaller cities. And I think it's serving to be a platform where different stakeholders come together to discuss and debate potential solutions holistically, like we just discussed. It's not just any one thing, but multiple things. And as part of the campaign, which is something we absolutely want to retain, we've done a lot of on-ground activations where citizens from different walks of life have actually come together. So I think the reception has been extremely promising. It's a long road ahead, but our view was somebody's got to start. And I think we've made that start 2 years ago. And I have to say, I'm delighted to see that this year, for instance, your channel and a couple of other channels are carrying other programs from other companies, corporates supporting road safety. So I just feel very good about the fact that we have been a force for good, a catalyst for change.
Yeah. Also, Vishnu, use technology. For instance, why can't we create an app, technology which actually tells you if you've gone above the permissible limit? I remember telling the Diageo people many years ago to actually install breathalyzers at bars to actually tell you whether you're in the permissible.
Should it be done over here?
Whether it's under the permissible limit. Yeah. So I'm saying if we actually look at each minute detail.
Dr. Vishwanath, that's not a bad suggestion.
No,
you think it's something?
done. What Mr. Sohail said, many companies have come forward to put this in every bar. It costs 50,000 rupees, and all taxi numbers, all those obey and all those things are written by the side. So if your analyzer shows that you are drunk beyond that particular limit, whatever, immediately you are supposed to call a taxi and go. And the bar, whoever is operating the bar, is not supposed to allow you out of the bar.
Right.
So that's being implemented.
What
bars? I can't name. I don't go to the bar.
I'm looking at a day when the car engine would refuse to start, analyzing the breath in my exhaled breath.
This is being
I can't
done.
drive. The car just would refuse to
Actually,
start.
just live in Delhi. It won't start in any case.
I think that Diego, that company is also sponsoring.
Karisma, let me ask you about another key part of this campaign, designated drivers. It's something that exists in so many other countries. It's people just don't do it here for some reason. Would you like to spread a
Well,
message?
I think
on
it
this?
is starting. There are a lot of apps now, like Party Smart and things like that, which a
Drive
lot
Buddy
of
and-
young couples and young people do use. So I think it is available now, and I'm sure it'll even grow further. So people should be aware that it is available. So it shouldn't be an excuse that, "Arey, mera driver nahi tha, koi tha nahi to." And I think a lot of young people feel, "I'll just have a drink or two and I can handle it." Well, that is not the case. If you are even having one drink, you cannot drive a vehicle, period.
What about, but again, what about the moderate consumption of alcohol? For those who drink, it's obviously a very personal choice.
Yeah.
But then how do you assume that you can drink responsibly?
No,
And
that's
assuming, of
exactly-
course, that you're not driving, so that's out of the question. But then just being responsible as a drinker, how do you actually figure out where to stop?
Well, I think it's from person to person. Like basically, I don't like alcohol, but there are some people who enjoy a drink like every night. So I think for health reasons also nowadays you hear, people will say, I've had one drink or two drinks. But then there are people who think, they can have 10 drinks and be totally fine, which is unrealistic.
See,
So
this-
there is no really a demarcation.
See, the stigmatization should not be of alcohol. It should be of irresponsible
Yeah,
behavior.
it's the
Shaina?
responsibility.
I think the responsibility quotient in public at large. Are we
Should be there.
responsible? Are we going to take onus? If you go out and drink, are you going to take care of yourselves? And another good thing is, gone are the days when you think you can just bribe the cop, because now it's impossible for you to be even doing that.
And you won't
The
have
kind of
change.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that comment, Sohail. But I think more importantly, the fines have been raised, almost tenfold.
Yeah.
So somebody who's going to be irresponsible also realizes that there's a huge price to pay. So I think as a society, if we talk about responsibility rather than getting into sermonizing that you must not drink or you must drink, but about the importance of not drinking and driving. And that's why I'd like to compliment NDTV, because you all are one of the few channels that have a collective conscience to talk about these issues rather than who said what and who did what.
Yeah.
See, many years ago in New York, there's a campaign which was run by young people, which basically talked about peer respect, peer approval, and peer disapproval. So it wasn't about whether you were drinking too much or drinking less. It was what you were doing after the drinking. If you were irresponsible to drive, if you were irresponsible to, if you were misbehaving and that kind of stuff. Social shaming is a very important tool. But you've got to figure the contours of social shaming. Here what happens is, a lot of machismo is associated with a guy who drinks and drives, thinking, doesn't matter. Haryana is the Wild West. So, if you actually look at those areas, and if you don't have social shaming blended with demonstrable punishment, which is very penal in purview, you won't be able to solve this problem.
And Shaji, in fact, you can take that, sir. Where do you believe we need to go as far as better punishments or punishments which actually make a point, not just a 100 rupee fine?
So just like Mr. Seth said, just few days ago, our own electrician who was driving a scooter was caught by a police constable. And he went and told him, and he phones me that he had only one bottle of beer, and why the constable should catch me. He was talking to me in Marathi. But the constable said, "Sahib, tani kai khela maide?" What he has done, he has taken a beer, and he says only one. And I know he has taken 3. I said, I don't know him. So I also told him, I don't know him. So he was ashamed. So he was very annoyed and doesn't come to my house anymore. Because I said, I don't recognize you because you are drunk.
You had a point, Dr. Oak?
Suspending the driving license for at least 3 months is the first act that needs to be done. Because nowadays the metros at least are running to a situation that if my license is suspended, I'm going to have it for 3 months. And that would deter me from driving. And moreover, I think so it's the culture. I should be ashamed of taking away life by my reckless act, something which he has done, something which he has given. I have no moral authority, no authority to take the life away by doing an accident.
Okay, well, we are almost completely out of time, but Abanti, one last question to you. Going forward, what are some of your ideas? Because we've done this for 3 years, we've really tried hard to spread this message, but going forward, what else do you think we can work towards in shaping public opinion, in going on the right road, as it were?
So I think 3 things really. The first is that we kind of continue to create awareness around new laws and new legislation which have come in. So last year we did the Good Samaritan. This year, hopefully, if the Motor Vehicles Act comes through with the Parliament, then really creating that awareness. I think that's important. The second is, how do we, make sure that the on-ground momentum is spread to more cities, more people. So, in marketing language, we say broaden the reach of what we are doing. And third is really, how do we bring in more engagement and not just, one-way kind of sermonization. And that's why we thought for this season, we are actually going to move from a negative message like don't drink and drive, which feels like a stick, to a rallying cry for a positive action, which is get a designated driver, so that people know, okay, I don't do that, but then what do I do? And so we make that the mantra, so there is a behavior shift that people can connect to and get engaged with.
All right, well, I'd like to thank all of our panelists today for joining us on this. We do have time for questions, which we will take. But it's something that we really feel is a cause that in NDTV certainly we attach ourselves very closely to, and it's been a great privilege working with United Spirits on this. This campaign, this partnership is very strong, and we hope it does continue. We've got young students over here, young professionals over here. We've also got Dr. Sulema Merchant, the Dean of Sion Hospital, with us. Dr. Merchant, there you are, sir. You were supposed to be here with us, and I'm so glad you were able to make it. In fact, I would ask you the same question which I've asked Dr. Oak earlier on. The emergency room of a hospital, the first hour. What is the scene that you typically see day after day, year after year, of how families are often destroyed because of irresponsible choices being made?
I think that's a very good question. And I think before starting, it's nice to have a backseat driver on the scene too, These guys are on the front seat here, so it's nice to have a rear perspective. My point is, before I answer that, I'd like to take on what positive contributions have come up and very good suggestions, like Sohail, for example, education. I'll give you an example there. I was a student somewhere in Germany, small, tiny little road, 5, 6 in the morning. Nobody there. Pedestrian crossing, red light, 2 people waiting out there. And I was kind of, say, what the heck's going on? And that Mumbai pana of me, if I can say Mumbai, I got the better of me, and I was about to take a step. There was no road. There was no traffic, at all. And a little girl, 2-year-old girl, I unfortunately knew German a little bit. So she said, can't you see that light is red? I was about to go there, and I said, really sorry. And that's what matters really, culture, what Dr. Oak said. Culture to be inculcated among school. We've got kids who are eco-friendly, who are into green stuff, but if they are taught early, changing culture at an adult age is very difficult. We can try that, all kinds of punishments there. And second important point that was mentioned was at site. I think Dr. Oak has mentioned, Sohail has mentioned, everybody. This is completely lacking because as Dr. Oak said, he said it in a medical term, I'll kind of put it in layman's perspective. Neck injuries are the single most important cause of paralysis. Sohail's on the board of Indian Head Injury. And immobilization, anybody who's there. We're just not aware, we're not putting that. If the media covers this single aspect, you'll reduce paralyzed victims post.
We don't have neck braces in India.
The neck braces is absolutely, you have to have it on the spot, whether a policeman reaches there, whether anybody reaches there. That concept of neck bracing. You have an ambulance doesn't have the neck brace, a splint. Simple things like that. Splints can reduce pain. We've seen people just dumped into a hospital. Sion Hospital, KM Hospital are the largest trauma loads. We do about 8,000 major accidents a year. And people are just dumped into the hospital. There's no awareness about how to reduce pain by just splinting. And neck injuries, we've seen so many people paralyzed, lives ruined there, completely just because of that.
And you see this almost every day.
We see it every day. Like the statistics you've given, it's like if you take Indian statistics, it's like a jumbo jet crashing every day. 400 people dying every day. 17 throughout India. If you just take the statistic, it's really mind-boggling. 17 every hour. Every 4 minutes, somebody is dying because of a road accident, and most of them are in the age group of 19 to 30, 34.
The most productive years.
So I've seen an accident just a couple of days ago. I was
Yeah.
going in my car. There's a mobile guy who's squeezing in left, right, and center. Finally had the last squeeze of his life. Unfortunately, he got squeezed between two tempos. And I saw his dead body right there, squashed completely. Nobody can do anything for that. So preventive measures are good. I think we need to talk about splinting, about education.
Sure.
But when you come into the hospital, if all of this is not done, it becomes that much more difficult and climb. Golden hour is, everybody's aware. I don't need to talk about that. So speed is of essence, like you said. Thank you.
Any other questions? If you could raise your hands. Yeah, to the young man over there. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ridesh, and I'm representing Karisma College of Management Studies and Research. So first of all, thank you all for instilling some faith in youth that we are the driving force behind bringing the change in any sort. So my question is related to road safety. We discussed that our laws are very weak as far as punishment is concerned. But there is one more neglected thing in India, which is pedestrian signals. So we don't have stricter laws for pedestrians in India, even though we have zebra crossing, but that doesn't solve the purpose.
So who would you like to ask
So
your question
any
to?
of the panelists,
So
if you
Shaji,
could take
would
this
you like
question,
to take this, because I think
would
it's a
like to
very
know
important
why we are
point.
not imposing stricter
public
rules
signages.
for pedestrian signals,
Yeah.
which could avoid a lot of
Shaji.
accidents.
So that's a great question. I think it comes back to the moot point of who are we designing roads for, right? We design roads for motor vehicles, for cars and other vehicles, but we don't design it for pedestrians. And sadly, 50% of the people who are actually dying in road accidents in India are called vulnerable road users, who are not protected by a shell. So they are cyclists, they are pedestrians, they are children. So every day, 20 children die in road accidents in India.
Yeah.
Kids, you know how kids are taken to school and got back from school. I think we have to move towards, and there are a lot of cities in the world, third world countries, like Bogota, for example. They're moving towards pedestrian-friendly roads. So the right of way should be of the pedestrian, not of the car vehicle.
Any other questions? And if you could just be, yes, sir, over there. If you can ask a question, sir, and point out who you want to.
Hello.
Yeah.
Good afternoon to all. This is Raj from spicystrassmobile.com. I'd like to ask Karisma Kapoor that do you think a celebrity can change some society, can bring a change in society?
Well, I think a celebrity can always bring out the awareness. And I think like Virat is also part of this campaign. I was there in 2014 in Bangalore. So I think we can, influence the people, the youth, everyone out there. So I think it can make a change. And we do try in our own way to do that.
Okay, two more questions.
Shainaji, my question to you is.
1 second, can can you go ahead and ask your question? Sir, if you can pass the mic, please. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mridula Goyal, and I just want to ask that on our roads, the number of vehicles are increasing day by day. So is there any law to, limit the number of vehicles?
It's a larger issue. It's a huge issue. I think it's well beyond the scope of this program.
Many of the road accidents actually take
It's
place
that's a valid
because
point. Would anybody like to give an abbreviated?
Of the environment and the pollution also caused due to vehicles, and of course road safety being one of the byproducts of it. But yes, there are lots of governments that are thinking about it. I know that our Environment Minister, Mr. Anil Dave, is coordinating with Mr. Nitin Gadkari, because in this motor vehicle bill that is going to be tabled in Parliament, they want aspects of pollution also to be contained. So in that sense, limited numbers of cars. But this is not something that we can force down anyone's throat. It's something that has to be where people, again, like Karisma, people who are from civil society that lead by example.
One last question from somebody on this side. Yes, go ahead.
Excuse me.
Center.
I have to ask now.
So no, can I just decide? Can I decide who's asking? Yes, go ahead. We'll just bring the mic across.
Hello, my name is Palak Upadhyay and I'm from HR College of Commerce and Economics. My question is that the present government, they are bringing a lot of changes and they are good. But as Sir mentioned that the medical facilities which are provided are not so enhanced. So when are we going to see? Because see, when I was
When are we going to see what?
medically, when the facilities available in the hospitals, when are they going to change?
I'm not sure that's entirely right. I know that we don't have enough hospitals, particularly in rural parts of the country, but what we have, for example, at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, is one of the best emergency trauma centers anywhere. Dr. Oak, would you like to I don't know if I'm entirely right.
That's true. And Suli is my colleague. And I think Sion Hospital in Mumbai has one of the undoubtedly best trauma units. The statistics, same is the case with KEM. So, the public and private sectors both make their efforts to chip in at the time of acute trauma emergency care. This question cannot be solved by erecting trauma-dedicated centers at one corner of the city. You have to upgrade every hospital's casualty into what I said, active emergency center. And those efforts are really on. But there is no substitute to good driving manners and culture.
So you've been very persistent if you want to ask your question. Yes, sir. I'll bring the mic, sir. 1 minute. Sir, can we just pass the mic, sir? Yeah, go ahead.
It's a good initiative taken by all of you.
Yes.
What about railways? उन्हें कौन सुधारेगा? उधर भी ध्यान दीजिए.
Thank you very much for your suggestion, and I think that's an important point outside the purview of this. And if you want to answer, I can't stop you.
I can only assure you that when it comes to railways also, there's no saying that we are going to be completely accident free, but we are taking a lot of measures, and Suresh Prabhu himself has highlighted all the 12 points that the government plans to do when it comes to railway safety as well. And I do concede it is an area of contention, because if you lose one life or 100 lives, it's a life of an Indian that is lost.
Well, I'd like to thank all of you very much for joining us. We're completely out of time. Our panelists need to move elsewhere. Thank you very much, and let's hope this program continues to make a real impact. Thank you very much indeed.
आज के पैनल के डिस्कशन के बारे में कुछ बताना चाहोगे?
मैं बस ये कहना चाहूँगी कि आई थिंक इट्स अ ग्रेट इनिशिएटिव एंड मैं पहले भी आ चुकी थी इन द फर्स्ट ईयर इन 2014. आई थिंक रोड सेफ्टी इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. हमारे छोटे बच्चे हैं, हमारे फैमिली मेम्बर्स हैं, एंड आई थिंक पीपल शुड बी मोर रिस्पॉन्सिबल जब वो व्हीकल चला रहे हैं. दे शुड नॉट ड्रिंक एंड ड्राइव. और अगर आपने पिया भी है, बट देन यू हैव टू हैव अ डेजिग्नेटेड ड्राइवर. आप नहीं सोच सकते कि नहीं मैं तो गाड़ी चलाने वाला हूँ, तो ये नहीं हो सकता. And I think it's a good way to create awareness that we're all there to tell people to be responsible and keep our roads safe, keep our families safe.
Last question.
Education कितना important role take
Well, I think education is most important. I think even as a mom, we educate our children to, walk on the road safely, hold an adult's hand, while crossing the road. So these are very simple things. So education of road safety, of not drinking and driving are very, very essential.
ओके लास्ट क्वेश्चन मैं ये आपसे ये करूँगा एक कानून बना है कि आप एनोनिमस रह सकते हो
हाँ जी, गुड समैरिटन लॉ.
आप अपील करें
I think सबको पता होना चाहिए that there is a good Samaritan law out there कि अगर आपने किसी को देखा है जो ट्रॉमा में है, ट्रबल में है, आप प्लीज़ ऐसा मत सोचिए कि बेटर हम इन्वॉल्व नहीं हुए. अगर आप इन्वॉल्व होते भी हो, you will not be questioned, you will be a good Samaritan saving someone's life. Thank you.
Done.